Hello everybody. So I waited a couple of days to put this video out because I wanted to see what the outcome was, and also I got quite annoyed. And before I get to subject matter, I'm just going to remind us of a few things that have happened over the last 6 months, and this is just again a small handful of cases. So this lovely chap here was Wayne Broadhurst, who was stabbed in the middle of the street while walking his dog, trying to stop another gentleman and his son from being attacked by an Afghani refugee. He died, and the media barely covered it. You then have Brianna Sky White, was followed home from a migrant inside the hotel she was working at, and stabbed about 23 times in the neck and was murdered. Again, barely any outcry on the media, barely coverage by politicians, except for Nigel Farage, who did actually, trying to raise awareness to this, but nothing from Keir Starmer. Very recent things happened. Two Egyptian fellas, an Iranian, all living in a migrant hotel, decided to grape a woman. This gentleman here, apparently an Egyptian wanted for murder, ran away from Egypt, put in your taxpayers' hotel, filmed the whole ordeal. No remorse, no nothing. Barely anything said by politicians or Keir Starmer. Remember these guys? Apparently rumoured to be kids, underage kids, dragged a girl into a park. Passersby just ignored the girl's screams and pleas for help, including a woman allegedly. She recorded the whole ordeal, and we were told if we could see the video there would be riots. These again, I think they're Afghani asylum seekers. There we go, yeah. Anything about that? No. But I guess the goal is green, and two Jews get attacked by an Islamist, let's be real. And they weren't killed, yeah, of course, thank heavens. Regardless, the attack is absolutely disgusting and should be happening on the streets of Britain. That's a fact. But we got this massive response, this huge response. Oh, the Jews are not safe. What about the native Britons? The victims? All white British girls, by the way. What about the hundreds of thousands of white British girls that are abused by foreigners through the Grooming Gang Inquiry led by Restore Britain? Anyways, we're going to play this to listen to what this chap has to say. Now, the first part of it is him just explaining what's happened. It does go on to say that they had mental illness. Now, I'm so sick of this mental illness palaver, and I've seen the video where the police are kicking them in the head, and people are like, oh no, he's mentally ill, you can't be kicking him out. Yes, you can. If this guy running at someone with a knife, or babies, or like something like Southport, I'm sorry, kicking them in the head is the least you can do. You need to really, really wake up and stop being on the defence of terrorists, murderers and rapists. Like, seriously, you need to start checking yourself very seriously. Oh, Zach Polanski, of course. Oh, madness of this. Anyway, let's just play this. So I'm going to play this from this point. So he's just explained what's happened. Now he's got to try and, educate us all and put us in our place.
Let me say a few words about what this was. Let me be clear. This is an attack on one community. An attack on one community is an attack on all London's communities. This was an attack on Londoners. It is an attack on British Jews. Too many Jewish people in this country feel they have to make choices that no other Briton ever has to make. They have to make choices about how they dress, where they go, or how visibly they live their lives.
It's not just British Jewish people, sorry. It's the natives. The natives are actually being sexually assaulted and murdered. Right? I got it wrong. There was a synagogue attack last year, earlier this year in Manchester. It was awful. Again, of a specific person from a specific faith attacking the Jewish people at the synagogue. Okay. And then you've had the ambulances burned down in Golders Green again. The IRGC took, responsibility for that. Same people, same religion again. Then to this, same kind of people, following the same sort of religion apparently, allegedly, and yeah, because it's the Jews you get more time, but on droves, the natives are being killed and slaughtered in this country, and yet we have not got anything like this coming out. Let's keep listening because he tells you who's responsible.
That's completely unacceptable and has gone on for far too long. We also need to be honest about the nature of the threat. Anti-Semitism is fuelled by hateful and extremist ideologies. It comes from hostile states, the extreme right and the extreme left. These are terrorist and hateful belief systems, but they're all rooted in racism. They're given space to operate when civic debate is weak, when hatred is excused.
So there's the far left and there's the far right. No specific religion, ideology, culture. No. Far right, right? This imaginary far right are killing Jews and attacking Jews in the street, even though, unless you argue, right, the extremes of Islam is actually far right. The extremes of Islam is highly patriarchal, it's extremely conservative, it's illiberal, it's very much what you would class as extreme conservatism, and it wants to put its rule over you no matter where it is. And it's married with the far left, which is Zach Polanski's lot, riding your coattails about no one's got an identity, everyone's got a blank slate, and they're very much people saying to love your migrants who are mass importing this, and they're not standing up for the mass rape of women and children. And those same people standing up protests, attacking women who are standing up against the mass rape of women and children, are married to the extremes of that religion. As far as I'm concerned, it's the far right is extreme Islam, and the far left is the extreme woke ideology. And those two have sandwiched together, and then there's poor people like me in the middle, the 1990s classical liberal going, whoa, what's going on?
And when people are unwilling to challenge it directly. I also believe now is the time to ask some difficult questions. Why don't we see more condemnation of the attacks we've seen in recent weeks? Where are all the voices against hate? And where is the solidarity with fellow Londoners?
Oh, I know there's been protests against Israel straight away after this. Of course there was. No one on the left is going, oh, this is terrible. And the so-called moderates of a specific religion aren't coming out and saying anything about it. It says it all. And the only people coming out en masse are the Jewish people and the normal Brits like myself, just going, well, what's going on? And then there's this extreme like reaction because they're Jewish.
Targeted simply for who they are.
You got to remember as well, when the synagogue knife attack happened, 50 million was awarded to mosques. What? Mosques weren't being attacked. Again, it's this knee-jerk reaction to someone who wasn't actually the victim but ends up playing victim in the end, crying wolf, saying, oh, now we're the attacks of anti-Semitism, we're the attack of anti-Islamophobia or whatever. Or my people are being attacked every day with anti-white hatred. Absolute vitriol hatred for anything to do with the British, the English, or anything to do with our heritage and our culture. And we're literally being made to feel like third-class citizens in our own country while we are being murdered and mass-raped and yet made to pay for it as the only overwhelming ethnic bloc in the country paying into the taxes. Look that data up, it's right there on ONS.
Legitimate debate about international affairs should never be allowed to legitimise anti-Semitism or violence against British Jews here on the streets of London. When that line is blurred, attacks become more likely. Let me be clear, we've seen a rise in racist and anti-Semitic hate crime, and whilst I can't comment on live investigations, we know that some individuals are being encouraged, persuaded or paid to commit acts of violence on behalf of foreign organisations and hostile states.
Right. Stand up to racism and the march against the far right. I literally have seen video evidence of people doing the Heil Hitler thing and calling for the death of Jews. Literally. Stand up to racism protest, to stand up to the far right. It's right there. Chloe of Something Talks on YouTube, she did a great video on this covering all the clips of it. Right there, easy to find. The reason why you've got massive anti-Semitism on the streets is because you're literally mass importing people from backgrounds who are anti-Semitic and racist as hell, right? Like I've asked all my foreign friends, and especially my Chinese and Korean and Japanese friends, and they'll tell you the most racist people they've met in the world are Indian, Pakistani, Asian of any variety, and from Africa. Not us. I'm constantly told that we are the most tolerant, and of course there's a few of us that do it, but overall as a people, we are the most tolerant. Now, he goes on to say diversity is our strength. Yes, great, considering that, you know, the natives are the minority in London now. Anyway, so Colin comes out and he gives this piece. Now, what I want you to do as a little game, excuse me, is replace every time he says Jew or Jewish with either English, Scottish, Welsh or Irish. Wherever you are and you're a native, just play that game. So just put English and replace this. And if you hear synagogue, put church in. You know, take in mind over 360 odd churches have been burnt down in the last 10 years. No money has been awarded to them. Less than 4 mosques have suffered arson attacks, 2 in which were caused by Muslims themselves, so the 2 we don't know. But they've had millions and millions of pounds pumped into mosques and thousands of millions put into synagogues. But, you know, forget the natives and the native religious and the native institutions and buildings that we built, which weren't built by migrants, by the way. Anyway, so let's play this game. So I'm just going to sit here and replace the word with English. Yeah, let's do this.
I'm angry, I'm appalled, I'm disgusted. The Jewish people are going to bed frightened.
Yes,
They're
we
waking
are.
up frightened.
Yes, we
They're
are.
living their lives frightened. This is no way to live. I'm appalled and angry that over the last few weeks we've seen places of worship attacked because they are Jewish, buildings attacked because they are Jewish, London is attacked because they are Jewish. It is incredibly important that those of us that aren't Jewish show allyship and support to our Jewish brothers.
Oh, look, those who are not native, respect the natives and the natives' heritage and lineage and things like dry stone walls and monuments of Churchill and not burn their churches down. But I love how we get this response against the Jews. And again, this is not an attack on Jewish people. This is an attack on these people, an attack on the establishment of how really they're quick to chase and protect so-called minorities when the actual natives are becoming a minority in their actual ancestral homeland are being absolutely butchered on scale every day.
Brothers and sisters, we've seen over the last few weeks Londoners scared because they are Jewish. And what the community will see.
How about natives are scared because they're English or they're Scottish? They're not sure their children are going to be kidnapped in Dundee.
Over the course of the next few days is additional police officers in and around the community, but more support and solidarity.
So do you get extra police officers around Epping looking after the natives? Oh no, they were there to stop the protesters, yes, en masse and riot gear, but were they there to suddenly patrol the streets and look after the girls and stop them from being attacked by migrant men? Were they in the streets were they put around the streets in broadhouse like that and monitored? Was that hotel suddenly had a lockdown and everybody actually vetted and treated and not allowed to leave the hotel? No? Funny that, isn't it?
From non-Jewish Londoners as well. An attack on a Jewish Londoner is an attack on our country. An attack on a synagogue is an attack on our capital city.
Attack on a native is an attack on this country. Attack on the people, literally the makeup of this country and this culture that everybody has endured, our culture being spread across the world. Don't tell me you don't have a culture, we most certainly do. I absolutely draws my head in. A way of gaslighting us again. It just annoys me.
This attack today has spread terror in the Jewish community, not just in London, not just across the country, but across the globe. Our response...
See, across the globe and the country, no one died. Doesn't lessen it, make it less evil. No one died. Wayne Broadhouse did. Was walking his dog. Remember his name? Rihanna White did. Do we have this response? Is this shocking across the world? No, you did not do nothing about this because it's the natives. That's what it says to me.
Must be equal.
That's all I can do, should be in a Mahmoud. Right, but you get my point. I just say, if you replace every word there with Jewish, with English or Scottish, Irish or Welsh, you can apply it to what's going on. And you see it tenfold. But yet there's no response. And to be honest with you, how they do this response, because it's happening every day, This weekend alone, I've seen 6 cases of grape. Now, I don't know who the victims are, I don't know who the perpetrators are, but so far the perpetrators do seem to be all of the same type again. And the victim, we're just going to guess, like probably all the same type again. Again, the speculation, yes, and conjecture on that point, but the pattern is constantly there. There was a mass shooting in London today. This is imported issues. The whole, you know, where's anti-Semitism coming from? Oh, it's coming from the far right. You know, the Nick Quintwets are everywhere. There's so many of them. No, they're really not. We're not. Like, people like me, the native white guys, we generally are not that way. It's not coming from us. It's only coming from the lefties who look like me, who've been indoctrinated to hate Israel and somehow back mass Islam, which is riding them like a Trojan horse. As I said, if you want to look for the true far right in our society, it's extreme Islam. That is the true far right. It's this. And the far left, the extremes of communism, is coming from the extreme woke brigade, who are using the LGBT distortion and people's mental illness on steroids to whatever further their goals to destroy this country through communistic means, like Zach Blansky and all. So this is the guy, by the way. I'm not really going to show you videos that told off, but Zach Blansky. Yeah, so this moron spoke up. He basically condemned the police for kicking the guy in the head at first, of course, because he'll protect a migrant over a native or anybody's lives in this country over the Jews, even though he's a Jewish man himself, and he should care more for the Jewish community. And I'm sure I've heard things going around, but his family said they would have to leave the country if he got into power because they fear for their lives as Jewish individuals. I'm just going to play this.
You retweeted this message about the behaviour of a group of Metropolitan Police officers when they had probably just saved several lives, including, by the way, the life of Essa Suleiman, who's since been arrested and charged with attempted murder because the armed police were on the way, and had he not been subdued, who knows what would have happened. What on earth was going through your head when you retweeted that? I know you've apologised, but how did you get to that place?
I think you can both recognise the bravery of officers who run towards incidents that most of us, including myself, would certainly want to run away from, and find the appropriate forum to say that no one, especially the police, should be above scrutiny. The reason why I've apologised is I accept that wasn't the appropriate forum. As a member of the London Assembly, a place I know you know well, the Police and Crime Committee would be an appropriate place, or indeed a meeting with the Commissioner, which I'm pleased I've reached out and he's now agreed to. I do also think, by the way, open letters aren't an appropriate way to do politics either in a local election, but I accept all of that, and I'll be having...
This guy called up the police on socials and then gets moaned at, but the police commissioner went, hey, leave the police alone. Again, people like Zach is the problem. Someone comes over in a boat, those three men who abused that woman, and yet the left will sit there and defend them, going, oh, it's not their fault. They don't know any better. They don't know the laws of our land. Let them fly. Natives do it too. I just watched the guy today saying, we don't have tourists that are going to be, you know, assault women. And you're like, well, at least you know who they are and you got a passport. At least you can trace where they're from. Of course not. That's ridiculous. But we're not finding many tourists doing it, weirdly enough. But we're finding a lot of people who are so-called asylum seekers and refugees and coming over on boats and lorries doing it. Again, it's called a pattern. Stop gaslighting society. And here we go, him going, oh no, I didn't mean to neg on the police. You know, he's got mental illness. What? Anybody who's trying to stab or kill someone who has a mental illness, it's not just an excuse from them. It means they're broken. Some of them can be fixed. 99% of the time, they cannot. And the problem is our prisons we put them in the prison, which is heavily indoctrinated again with a specific religion, where they come out worse than they went in. And we know it's for a fact. Again, it's all there. It's all there. But yeah, everybody just wants to deny it's...
in that conversation with the Commissioner.
But you chose X to do this. And I'm just curious, what prompted you to look at this message and to repost it? You can say you didn't endorse it and so on, but you made a choice to do this. And I'm just curious.
If you repost something, you are endorsing it. I'm sorry, if you repost something, you're endorsing it, right? If I repost a 140k meme and it's foreground being gratuitous or something, Yeah, I've got accountability for that because, you know, I've endorsed it by sending it along the line. Come on, how's this guy going to be in politics?
What thought process led you to do that?
Well, the first thing I did was recognise that this was a horrific crime, and I showed solidarity to the victims and their families. I then thanked the emergency responders for the brave work they did. I found it all very traumatic, especially as a Jewish person, and I also found the video that was circulating.
You felt so traumatic as a Jewish person, but your first comment was in defence of the guy who's a terrorist trying to stab Jewish people, Zach, David Paulden, whatever your name is.
Online traumatic too. I accept, though, that conversation about that video needs to be had with the Commissioner rather than on X.
You made a mistake, presumably, because you were traumatised then.
Well, you generally apologise when you make mistakes for putting that in the wrong forum. It should be something...
Then say sorry, then go, I made a mistake. Right?
I take directly to the Commissioner and accept that.
Didn't even say I made a mistake. Didn't even say I'm sorry. Just, oh God, worded it in a certain way. But I somehow take accountability for not taking accountability. Okay, so here's the next one came out.
There is enhanced funding already in place.
Right.
We need to increase that to give the level of protection that is needed.
Sorry, let's play that again.
There is enhanced funding already in place. We need to increase that to give the level of protection that is needed. We need to take measures to deal with malign state actors, but we also have to be really clear that we need to get to the root causes of extremism and anti-Semitism, and so that is what we're doing.
Mass migration. Illegal and legal migration from countries that sheerly hate the existence of an Islamic State. Every nation that follows the extremes of Islam is anti-Semitic. The far right you're looking for is the extremes of that religion. And the natives doing it, Keir Starmer, are the far left that you let out every weekend to stand up and protest in against or in solidarity of the Gazans or in solidarity IRGC, an imported issue. This is why of anti-Semitism. The amount of white liberal women, which is literally like 76% in these days, especially between the ages of 18 to 26, are so cooked at hating themselves, Keir Starmer, that they think that importing these men is the best course of action. But everyone is an innocent baby because the extreme far right, extreme Islamists have convinced the far left that that is the case. While normal people like me in the middle is who you target with this rhetoric nonsense, with skating around the direct cause of what is happening in our country. Let's keep listening. I think it's great that you can give extra funding to protect the Jewish communities, but not the natives of these lands who are being literally killed, slaughtered, and raped on a mass scale. Hundreds of thousands of young British girls raped by foreign men and sold off in the slave trade, let alone the shops and fronts that we have in the business run by Algerian cartels and all these other businesses. The entire system's corrupted because, again, of mass unfettered migration from literal countries that are antithetical to our own. That's where it's come from, Keir Starmer.
Kemi Badenoch says this is a national emergency. Nigel Farage says the Jewish community is in your thoughts and prayers, but with no action. What do you say to these criticisms?
Well, the government is taking action.
National security, we've had a national security threat for years. These boats are a national security threat. You're putting every woman and child in danger on the streets, and our men are being stabbed and attacked. You can't keep blaming the natives for their own crimes. It doesn't excuse massively important millions of people from cultures antithetical to our own who answer with violence more than ourselves. Just because we do it doesn't mean you can bring them in. And now on the league tables, we are the lowest per capita criminal in majority cases of crime now. It's right there. You can go and find it. It's insane. And of course, I don't want to be at the top, but I'd rather just be dealing with my own instead of dealing with 20, 30 different nationalities from the world who literally treat women like dirt. and think of us as trash, and anything that's outside their religion can just be done with.
In relation to security, cohesion, extremism. But of course, it's our responsibility to coordinate the immediate response here to this appalling attack, to ensure security is in place, to take other measures. I'm holding a meeting tomorrow with the criminal justice agencies to make sure that we can have effective and swift justice in these cases. But we do have to recognise the levels of anxiety and concern there are, that I know about, in terms of the Jewish community.
So, what he knows about in terms of the Jewish community, okay, I'm going to pause you there, Keir Starmer. The mother of Rhiannon Sky White has been screaming for your attention. Been screaming about the problems of unfettered illegal migration into our country and the hotel issue. Not since this person, Orla Minham, so sorry if I butchered your name, darling, took the Pink Ladies up to number 10 with a letter saying, please give it down about our women and children. Ignored. It's funny that, isn't it? Don't worry, when it comes to the Jewish people, we need to knee-jerk. And again, it took them a while to do this because your wife's Jewish, Keir Starmer, and I think that's been strained, obviously, with the Rent Boys.
Very much exposed and vulnerable, feeling they've got to hide their identity, sometimes in the health service, sometimes at school, on the streets where they live. And it's our job to make sure that they feel safe.
As I mentioned there, we've asked more people for low skilled wages, suddenly creating businesses out of nowhere when we haven't got the money to do it, somehow they have. And all these fronts and all these businesses, but they're also in the healthcare industry. The Nigerian healthcare window opened up during COVID to bring in more workers, was actually piggybacked up a lot of human traffickers, etc. Take in mind, the boats are literally bringing in new labourers. You know, once they have abscond from the hotel, once they get their replacement, they can go and work in the black market. We know this. It's all there.
Secure. It's our job to make sure that we absolutely deal with the roots of anti-Semitism and extremism. That is what we will do. There is...
Right. So what's the root of it? Stop the boats. Mass deportations. It's the only way you're going to get anti-Semitism, because you keep bringing people from countries which are anti-Semitic, and those people are becoming the majority in all of our cities now, where we are the minority, and then they are brainwashing, and you're allowing it through the education system, for everything else, through media, for you scapegoating around who the actual cause of all these issues are, and then those people are then becoming the minorities and then being converted almost to accept their basically the self-deletion. I got so wound up looking at this, and again, this isn't an attack on the Jewish people. I don't want anybody hurt in the country. I don't want anybody attacking each other. I don't want racial wars. I don't want religious wars, and especially with those that are not to do with my country. Go away. You know, no offence. I miss the good old days where the Scots used to hate the English, and these days now, the Welsh and the Scots hate the English so much, but they don't care about mass immigration, deleting their small populations. The Welsh don't care about mass immigration and wiping out their Welsh language, because what? I'm not being funny. Do you really think legal migrants are going to learn your Welsh language when it's already dying out between the natives? And one thing I was to end on as well, the Welsh have been inherited these lands for over 5,000 years. They're arguably here longer than the Anglo-Saxons. They are the true natives of these isles, and we're not protecting them. There's no native rights at all for us. We are being fed to a meat grinder of mass migration, and diversity is our strength and key. I'm watching taxpayers' money from us paying taxes into services that do not protect us. You coming up with funding now, and new police officers and new services and everything, because 2 people were nearly killed in Golders Green, but you didn't do that for Rhiannon Sky White. You didn't do that for Wayne Broadhurst. You didn't do that for the poor victim of these 3 monsters who are illegally in our country. And same for these 2 monsters in an illegal country, and many others. Many others. I mean, there are so many cases, it's unreal. And these are just the cases reported, as we mentioned before. So again, I'm not sure if I've rambled too much. I'm just really annoyed, but I think it's a very big double standard here, that you're just protecting so-called minority groups over the so-called majority, but the majority happens to be the actual minority. You know, we make up 9% of the world. white Europeans. We are the minority inviting the majority that hates us and our religion, that we are paying for, and are laughing at us, knowing very well that the police is against us, and just coming in and destroying us. And a synagogue attack in Manchester warrants £50 million being given to mosques, and attempted killing in Golders Green, which was a disgusting act, of course, warrants 300 new police officers and a whole bunch of funding towards synagogues. And I imagine as well, someone will complain saying mosques need more money because now they're getting more racial attacks. That's what it has to be down to. I'm just sick of the Jews and the Muslims fighting their war in my country. You know, when we get down to restore the same will ban halal and kosher, I'm like, yeah, because you're both doing my head in. You're both disrespecting the natives. You're both taking advantage, and our government's allowed to do it, and it's absolutely disgusting. How about Keir Starmer? You care about the natives for this country. How about Kemi Baynock? You should have said it's a national emergency many years ago. How about Zach Plansky? You have pity for the police officers to deal with that heinous incident with the guys trying to stab them, and actually care about your Jewish people for once, and care about the natives of this country. I just think it's abhorrent. I'm just really fed up of it all. I'm just absolutely fed up that we get nothing like this reaction when it comes to Jewish people or Muslim people who barely ever attacked in our country. There's the big song and dance. Anyway, food for thought. I'll catch you soon.